Back to Brian Wilson, filling in for Fred Lefevre on News Talk 1370 WSP.
It's just a hobby. It's 7:38, 22 minutes and 8 o'clock. And if you're just joining us, this is the third half of the show. All you math majors out there can figure that out if that's at all possible. If you do figure it out, call me, Lee, because I sure as hell can. 419-240-1370. If you want to be part of the dance here this afternoon, 866-321-1370, toll free from anywhere. We're going to grab another traffic report here in just a second, but let's take a moment out to welcome Jim Moody to the studio once again. Mr. Moody, good to see you.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Megan.
Everybody ought to know by now, Mr. Moody, along with three other adults, would like to be your mayor. And if I understand correctly, you've got a forklift of petitions downstairs somewhere you're going to be wheeling over to one government center to turn in this morning?
They're in a fireproof briefcase as we speak right now.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me at all. How does that... all right, so we only got about a minute, so this is the formality. Do they go through a vetting process with those, just like they did
Absolutely. With our... They go through and they make sure that the signatures match the signature cards. They make sure the addresses are where the registered voter says they are, that there really is a vetting process on that, and that's why you have to be very specific and make sure that everything's right, because even if you give one extra signature over the 1,500, the whole thing's out. It requires a lot of due diligence. Indeed.
Well, as a member of the Take Back Toledo Committee, I'm very familiar with the issues regarding the petitions. I just didn't know whether they held the same standard of exactness to apply. So you only turn in the exact number. You don't pad it like we had to do with another 25,000 signatures just in case.
Well, you turn in 1,500, and you have to have 750 good ones. So in other words, they figure it's about a 50% ratio.
Okay, you're right. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. Right. Got some policy things I want to talk to you about as the mayoral race starts to tighten up a little bit. Was the 7:43, 17 out of the top of the hour as we slide down the razor blade of life once again. If you're just joining us, you're just in the nick of time for our first guest of the, Doc Treese is a guest, but he's here all the time. This guy only drops in once in a while. That would be Jim Moody, wants to be your mayor, the lone R in the race. And it's a lonely race with only one R.
Oh, that's okay.
That's all right.
we can deal with that.
I understand. All right. Since the last time we spoke here on the air, there have been some changes in the composition of the race. Mm-hmm. Mayor Pantload is out. D. Michael Collins is in. The TPPA contract issue was resolved in some manner, shape, or form. The begging and pleading letter that the mayor dropped off to his good friend Joe Biden only got him about half. Let's start with Finkbeiner out of the race. Does that measurably change what you're doing or how the race is being run or the focus of the issues?
We actually, last January, somewhere in some interview, I predicted that he wouldn't run. So we never anticipated him running anyhow. I think Take Back Toledo had a large part of confirming that decision as well too. No, it really has nothing to do with us. It didn't take away from our base or the voters that we were counting on. I just think that they're just, he was going to poll probably at 6 or 7%, and you divide that amongst five other Democrats or four other Democrats, and that's just a 1% change. So that's really no big deal for us.
But as far as issues are concerned, how it is, because I figured that with him out of the race, the main thing is that it would be. It would remove from the campaign, everybody's campaign, what you're able to talk about. Only because he'd pop off with some asinine something, and somehow you guys would have to deal with that, as opposed to allowing voters to hear in depth your discussion of what the real issues are in the race, not what personality abnormality maybe hanging out on the
right. Some candidates made the current administration, a focus of their candidacy, but that was never what we were talking about. We had a clear vision on what we felt that Toledo needed, the direction it needed to take, and it had nothing to do with the current administration. So, we never really attacked or had criticisms for the administration as far as the next 4 years. The only thing that I did come out and had serious questions about was the TPPA's contract, the police contract with the city administration, that now forces the city to figure out how they're going to spend or write a check for maybe as much as $4 million in 3.5 years, for which they have no idea where that money's coming from.
Well, that was my next question. Do you really want to be mayor now? I mean, for 3 years,
Well,
it's going to be the
we'll
think
be able
finder
to
legacy.
figure that out. I think, but here's the other thing that really I don't understand why the TPPA tolerated this. It leaves about 50 police officers permanently laid off now. Are our streets any more safer today than they were just 6 months ago? And the other thing is that the stimulus money that even some of my, the other candidates are relying upon, that stimulus money, you can't count on that. And that was completely evidenced here by the fact that we only got half of what we requested, half of what they were counting on. That stimulus money, we cannot count on that. If we get it, it's a bonus, but we have to move forward as if we're not getting a dime.
Michael Collins jumped in when Finkbeiner jumped out. I have not had the opportunity yet to talk with Michael about his positions and so on, but I kind of get the sense that all of you are more or less on the same page. That when you look at Collins, Wilkowski, Bell, and Moody, you're all about business, you're all about jobs, you're all about economic development, you're all about business friendly. Where's am I missing something?
The distinction between them?
Yeah.
Well, I first of all I would ask the listeners to check out their track records. How many of us have created jobs without using taxpayer dollars? How many have had to go out and fight for a paycheck? With regards to Mr. Collins, I'm welcoming him to the race, and I'm anxious to see how he reconciles his performance on city council along with his vision for the future of Toledo. I think there's going to be some explaining to do on that, Lucy. And so, what we're hoping that the voters, the one question that we want every voter, every concerned citizen to ask every time a politician makes, and ask it of me too, the word how. How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to do it? And how fast is it going to happen? Having an economic development plan that requires an act of Congress, I don't see that, accomplishing much in the near future. Or, saying no to anything on the city council legislation without offering alternatives, how is that any different? So as the debates go on and the interviews go on here on WSPD, I hope your listeners call up and the first question they ask is how? How are you going to do it? How are you going to pay for it?
I'm curious if you could share with the listeners, because we hear occasionally, well, I say we hear so much about it, but it pops up every now and then in a bothersome, irksome sort of way. One of the children running for mayor, young baby Ben Kana, makes constant references to the Old Boy Network. I just wonder, can you tell me, where does the Old Boy Network meet? How long have you been a member? How old do you have to be an old boy? And what does an old boy bring to the table of mayor as opposed to a young child?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Old Boy Network, I think it was first coined correctly identified here by WSPD on the Dukes of Hazzard theme song.
Oh,
but other than that, I guess I'm an old boy for two reasons. First of all, down south when you fish, you're part of the Old Boy Network. Secondly, old boy represents experience. And I think that I'm proud to carry that kind of label. It's not a back-scratching type thing, and if that's what Ben's referring to, then he needs to identify it that way. But, this candidacy, the Moody for Mayor candidacy, represents a fresh approach, a business approach with experience and completely different angles or procedures on how we're going to change the city of Toledo, both the administration-wise and as far as developing jobs in Toledo. Public safety and creating the right environment. Remember, no government can create jobs unless you're willing to open up your wallet and pay for it.
Jim Moody wants to be your mayor. He'll be with us for a few more minutes.